Hi, my name is Teresa Sandner, and I am the Parent Education Program Coordinator for CARE of Southeastern Michigan. And this video is all about resources that are available to you and your family if you feel that you need it at some time, either now or in the future. Your family might be doing okay right now, and you may have gotten through the initial shock of the separation or the divorce, and you and your family have settled into a routine, and you may feel that everything seems like it's going okay. I thought that same thing too 10 years ago when I went through my divorce. Actually, it was closer probably to 12 years ago when it first started, and I separated from my husband, and it looked like everything was going fine, and I wasn't really worried about anybody. Nobody seemed upset, but almost a year later, I could start to see some of the reactions that my daughter was having. My kids were 15 and 17 at the time, and I could see some of the reactions that she was having, and I decided that she needed to get some help. Um, I'll talk about that more later, but I wanted you to know now that all of the programs that I'm going to mention to you, with the exception of adult anger management, are free programs. They're available to you by going through our website or calling CARE, which I will be sharing that information with you at the end. But these are just a few things, resources that you may need, because when people do need help, a lot of times they don't know where to start. They don't know where to begin. And so that's my hope, is that this video will help you to know where you can start. CARE helps everybody in the Tri-County area. Doesn't matter where you live. If you need information and you need some rough resources and referrals, you can call CARE. If we don't have the program that you're looking for, we will find a program for you that will help you. So what I want to start with is thinking about right now. As I mentioned, you might be feeling like everything's okay and you really don't need to worry about anything, but I want to go through some typical reactions that you might notice from your kids. And when you receive your smile book, the blue book that says Start Making It Livable for Everyone, on page 11 is where I'm getting this information about common reactions from children. So I am going to share my screen with you so that you can see what I'm talking about here. So we're going to start with infants and toddlers. You may start to see that your toddler is having trouble sleeping. They might start to get really clingy and whiny or cranky. And that one of those things happening does not mean, anything. It could just be a toddler having a bad day or not feeling very well. But when you start to notice a lot of things, or when it goes on for too long, that's when you can tell that the child might be having a reaction, because they don't know what divorce means, but they know that their routine has changed, that either mommy or daddy is not living in the house anymore. Uh, Kids are really good at reading body language. They can read your face. They can tell when you're upset and angry, and you may be unaware what your body language is sending out. And so your kids will look at it, though, and they react to that. So those are some things that might affect a toddler. When you get to about 3 to 5 years old, one of the things that might happen is that kids might start to blame themselves. And I know that sounds crazy, because how could they possibly think it's their fault? Their father and I, or their mother and I, have been arguing for months. How could they think it's their fault? But because of their brain development, kids do think that family stressors are their fault. As crazy as that sounds, they may be thinking, if I had been a better kid, mommy and daddy wouldn't be fighting right now. If I had done this when they told me to, or if I did better in school, mommy or daddy wouldn't be leaving and walking out of the house right now. So kids do tend to blame themselves. And I have some things that can help that as we get along in this video. But I just wanted you to notice these other things that children might be also feeling, is confusion. fear of abandonment because they don't understand why this person who lived in their house all the time is gone now. And does that mean both of them are going to leave? They might be more aggressive. They might have more temper tantrums. They might return to sucking their thumb or holding a blankie or having a teddy bear or crawling into bed with you again. They might regress in their potty training and start wetting the bed or having accidents. Or they might start to get really emotionally needy, thinking that if they could feel better, then everything's going to be okay and it won't be as bad as their wild imaginings are, because kids don't understand. They can't process thoughts and ideas and feelings like adults do. But as those kids get a little bit older, more crying, more feelings of abandonment and rejection, they really, really want their parents to reconcile. And so if parents start dating too soon, no matter how wonderful that new boyfriend or girlfriend is, kids are going to feel like they're the enemy because they are stopping my mom and dad from getting back together again. And so you're just going to start off with a child who hates your boyfriend or girlfriend. They're going to start having loyalty conflicts, and they're going to start blaming one parent who left the house or who stayed in the house. It's always easier to blame that parent because they're available. They start to feel a lot of things like resentment and anger and helplessness. You know, how can I get my family back together again? It's never going to be the same. My life is just a drag, and I hate my life now, and I miss my mommy or my dad so much. And you might start to see more physical complaints like tummy aches and neck aches and headaches, rashes, and things like that. And again, you know, one or two of these things, okay, maybe they're just having a bad day. But you start to see a preponderance of these things and they're lasting a long time. Okay, something else is going on here, and I need to get some help for my kid. And then teenagers, almost all the same thing that all the other kids are ages are feeling: betrayal, anger, embarrassment. They might be a lot more tired because sleep is a coping skill. They might have trouble concentrating in school. They might want to achieve their independence faster. And they might want to show you that they're independent by smoking or using drugs or having sex too early. Or they might become overly dependent because that might be a way to make sure that you're always there, especially if you're the parent who's moved out of the house. If I get overly dependent on them, maybe they'll move back in. And so they're concerned about their parents. Do they still care about me? They don't seem to be playing with me as much anymore or talking to me like they used to. We're not going on trips anymore. You know, what's going on with my parents and what's going to happen in my future? Will I have money to go on spring break? Will I have money to leave to join college? And what happens when I meet somebody? Am I going to divorce? Does that mean that I have to divorce because I'm going to be just like my parents? And so parents don't want, of course, all these things to happen to their kids. But, you know, it's just a normal part of what happens when a family has stressors in it. And kids do not know how to process what's going on because of their brain development. Their brain development all the way up to 25 years old is spotty and it's slow. And so their thought process is slow. And they spend a lot of time in their emotional brain instead of up here where executive thinking is going on and problem solving and managing emotions and consequences. All those things that you learn about that help you work as an adult, they're all up here. But teenagers, elementary school, toddlers, infants, they're all back in their emotional brain. So everything is an emotional problem for them. So next slide is about processing those feelings. And this goes for really any problem that a child might have. You have to look at their, not only their words, but how they're saying it and their body language. So back to my own story. My kids, I thought, were doing fine. You know, they were functioning. Nobody was crying. Nobody was having any anger issues. And then one day I took my daughter. She was 15 years old at the time, took her shopping. I had moved out of the house. She was living with her brother and her dad in the house they grew up with. And I thought that was the best thing for them. So we went shopping. We had a good day. We went out to eat. We were laughing in the car. We pull up into her dad's driveway. And then suddenly she changed like a light switch. And she said, "Sometimes I really hate you." And I was shocked. Where did this come from? And so I was kind of stunned into silence. And she went off on a litany, you know. Um, the only thing I managed to get out to her was, "You sound really angry." And I didn't know why. So after I said that, she kind of went off on a litany. "You're never home. I can't get a hold of you when I want to. You don't always call me back right away. And I've got nobody to talk to in the morning when I get up. And Dad's busy doing his thing. And Luke's always busy. And the dog doesn't even listen to me. And I've got nobody to talk to. And you left and you didn't take me with you." So she wasn't really angry. She was upset. And she didn't know how to tell me because she has a teenage brain. And so her anger and her resentment and obviously her feelings of abandonment and rejection were all back here in her emotional brain. She was wallowing in it. She wasn't up here thinking, "How can I tell my mom? How can I tell my dad?" So if you look at this slide, it says, think about how that child is feeling. At first, I thought she was feeling angry. So I said, "Sounds like you're really angry with me." And then after she went off on that litany, I said to her, "It sounds like you're really hurt because you feel like I abandoned you." And right away, the waterworks started. Because the best thing about reflective listening, which is what this is that you put a period at the end of that statement and you be quiet and you let them go because they're going to fill in. They're going to get awkward, uncomfortable with that silence because usually we're lecturing. But now we're just sitting there. And that's what happened. She started crying 15, 20 minutes. She just cried. And all I did was hold her hand, rub her cheek, move her hair away from her face. I didn't say anything. I just let her cry and vent a little bit. When she was done, I didn't offer any excuses. She knows I work at night. She knows I couldn't afford a cell phone. All I had was a landline. And that's not important. It wasn't important for me to defend myself. It was important that my 15-year-old was able to process how she feels. So I just let her go. And at the end of it, I apologized. I said, "Leah, I was only thinking about myself. I probably wasn't even thinking about you, and I'm sorry. You'll have to sleep on the couch or you'll have to sleep with me because I only have a 1-bedroom apartment." She goes, "Mom, I don't care. I'll sleep on the floor. I just want to live with you." So that was it. It wasn't about hate. It wasn't about anything but I want to be with my mom. So we went in the house. We talked to her dad. I brought her home with me that night. And that weekend, she moved everything in and lived with me. And, the very last bullet there that you see on that slide, we're not solving. I didn't solve anything for her. Her dad and I were not going to get back together. So I didn't solve it. There's no blaming and there's no advising, just reflecting because I need to understand what's going on with my child. And there's nothing I can do to make the situation better except to listen to her and pay attention to what she's saying. So that's how you help kids process. Anytime any big emotion comes up like that in their life, the best thing to do is just to process with them. There's other things that you can do. We have parenting classes, and you can see on the bottom there, we have parenting classes for kids, parents of kids of all ages, and they're all free classes. And you'll learn some great communication skills and problem solving skills, which will help your kids through that process. And it'll also give you some good skills to work with. These parenting groups are not about parenting per se, they're about people skills. Everyone can use those. So again, you can check our website. Right now we have virtual classes going on, but this fall we'll have some probably face-to-face classes coming up. We also have Teen Intervene because a lot of kids, when they don't know how to process their feelings and they're suppressing, they will start to self-medicate because drugs help them to feel better. Drugs are fun. There's no denying that. But using drugs early and often can lead to addiction. And so Teen Intervene is a free one-day class for teenagers who do not have an addiction problem but are experiencing, or not experiencing, but experimenting with drugs. And so the parent or the caregiver goes into one group, the teens go into another. And the kids are learning about the truth about substances and how they affect you. And the the parents are basically going through a parenting class. There's also adolescent anger management for kids 9 to 18 years old. We separate them into groups, as you can see there. This is also a free program, and there is a parent component. The kids are learning about triggers and how to recognize them and what to do instead of getting violent or exploding, how to manage their emotions. And the parents are learning again about how to help their kids learn good communication skills, how to process their feelings, how to problem solve. So it's good that parents go too, because this is a family issue. All these issues are family issues, and they need to work on these things together. We also have an adult anger management class. That's not free because it's not provided by our funder, but this is a good class also to learn about managing your emotions if it's gotten you into trouble. This class does not meet ADA standards and is not intended for domestic violence, but if you notice that your reactions to this divorce are anger and explosion, you might want to consider taking some kind of adult anger management class. And then the last one here is Camp Care. This camp, I'm only mentioning this because this is for children preschool to high school who have a loved one in their family who's been affected by a substance use disorder. So what those kids learn in there is how to deal with a family stressor. And a lot of times, not always, but sometimes divorce has to do with substance use issues. And so kids can learn a lot in there. It's a 10 o'clock to 2:30 camp in the summer. Typically, it's at the end of July, the beginning of August. It's for 2 weeks, like I said, and kids are given breakfast, they're given lunch. They think they're in there having a good time, but they're learning coping skills. This says Fountain Elementary. We've had it there the last couple of years. It may not always be there, but it will always be at a location that's easy for everyone to get to. And one of the things that we teach in the Camp Care is something that all kids can learn, especially when I told you that kids can think that the divorce is somehow their fault. And so what we teach them in Camp Care and what kids need to know about divorce is, I didn't cause it, so I can't control it and I can't cure it, but I can take care of myself by communicating my feelings, which is really important, by making healthy choices, like not self-medicating, and by celebrating me, because kids carry a lot of guilt and shame around when there's a family stressor, and they need to celebrate themselves and how smart and strong and capable they are. And even though this camp is for kids with substance abuse in their family, those are some good things to live by, for kids to live by, to understand that problems are not theirs, so that adults are in charge and they'll take care of the problems. And kids need to take care of themselves. So one other thing, we also have some outpatient services at Care. We work with people who do have insurance and people who don't have insurance. So don't let that stop you. You can just call Care and you can come in for outpatient therapy services. And it's just a short-term therapy sessions, but if you need anything more long-term, then Care can refer you. All you gotta do is let them know whether you have insurance or not, what kind you do if you do have insurance, where you live, and they can refer you to a therapist. And if you don't like the one that we referred you to, you can always call back and see another one, get another referral. Not everybody meshes right away with their therapist, so don't be afraid to try to find another one if you need to. And last but not least is this is not affiliated with CARE. This is divorce care through Shepherd's Gate Church. And that is a free program, faith-based program for the whole family. Kids go into one group, teens go into another group, adults go into another group. And they try to touch on relevant topics that teens and kids need to be able to get through and cope with their family's change. And also the adult topics that they talk about are how to manage money, how to emotionally detach from your partner, how to co-parent, how to get along, lots of different kinds of topics, how to start dating again, and how long you should wait before you start dating. So there's information on Shepherd's Gate that's in Shelby Township, and it's a good place to go to get some support. And if you need some more information about this program, you can call CARE too to find out about that. And speaking of that, here is CARE's phone number and our website, which is Care of SEM. We have a calendar on there, and you can find information out about any of the programs I talked about, or any kind of information that you might need to help your family, even if it doesn't have to do with divorce. We're there. We're a mental health agency and substance abuse agency, so we help people who need some programs to get out of the rut that they're in, or to get through a divorce. So always use that Care of SEM or give us a call if you need some further help. So that is some information for you if you should need some help with this. And thank you for being part of this, and good luck with the process that you're going through.